Payam, we talked about medicine quite a bit, and we talked about our egos, and we talked about different types of facilitators. But in the beginning, we hinted at the systematic issues or difficulties that we have, and also the protection that us men have in this society, and the roles that we play, and a lot of pain and trauma that is the result of such. So maybe we can use that as a final topic for today's discussion, and I'm more than happy to have around 2 and 7 and 15. But if we talk about the role of a strong man, of a strong human, what are your thoughts on that? And what is maybe also ways that we have to relearn or rethink our understanding of such? And
Well, let's examine what it means to be a man in this culture. And let's examine together what it means to be a strong businessman. And you've been in the corporate sector, and I'd like you to reflect back to me, based on your understanding of the work that I do and what we discussed, what a strong man is in the corporate sector and how we can distill that and unpack that in the recognition fundamentally that we are all trying our best, but our best may not be enough. And let's recognize some of that, and then we can distill and understand what those may be.
no, absolutely. And I mean, again, I can speak for my very own personal experience, and I'm fully aware that there's different companies, different businesses, and different people out there. But I think there is common traits or characteristics that companies, let's just call it, are searching for in the business world. And you have to be smarter. You don't have to be only smart. You have to be smarter than other people. You have to be stronger, at least at the very beginning of your career. What happens in the environments where I have worked, you're being tested straight away. So how does Ismail deal with weekend work? How does the person deal with working 14 or 16 hours straight? How does the person deal with saying no? And also, and I believe that happens consciously and subconsciously, how does a person stand its ground if he or she has to do something which may not be in line with those values? So there is a lot of pressure, I would just call it, that are being put on men and women in the business world, but which people have to go through for an initial beginning of their career. But it doesn't really matter. You go higher and higher and higher. And it's also true on a partner level if we talk about investment banks or if we talk about management consultants. Again, this is the areas where I used to work. And you have to be strong, you have to be smarter, you have to be faster. And if you break at either of those characteristics, you can also be sure that there is thousands, if not millions, of other people replacing you. So you are replaceable at any time. And there is a lot of fear as well being put on man and being put on human capital, let's just call it, because that's really what it is. Like, a company invests in a Payam or in an Ishmael, and then the likelihood is that people are only searching for the best monetary output of that very resource. And for me, that is a fairly skewed view of what humanity really is. And I hope that that gave you an idea of what my understanding of a strong businessman would be.
So what I hear as you're saying this is the equivalent of boot camp and being put into the battlefield. You're disposable. You're just a number. Your humanity is denied of yourself. You're forced to deny yourself of your own humanity. And you may be rewarded monetarily or by, a medal, a badge. And when you break, you're out because there's 15 other people behind you ready to go. So fundamentally, what I'm hearing you say is that you're entering into an environment where you have to deny yourself of your own humanity, and your humanity is denied of yourself. and people compensate by drinking, they compensate by buying, they compensate by a lot of distorted behaviors and beliefs to manage that environment. As I mentioned before, doing medicine work really forces us to reevaluate ourselves and our priorities and our paradigms. And it may not be for many people, because they realize that they're in an insane world and they're participating in their own insanity and their own destruction. I really encourage people to read the new book by Gabor, because it really has a good way of elucidating all these ills. Okay. On the opposite, on the flip side of the coin, I have worked with businessmen and very, very prominent surgeons, world-renowned surgeons, and they get the memo and they're like, holy fucking shit. And I asked them afterwards, I say, so now what? And while they may be still involved in the sector that they're in, they're doing their work with more humility and humanity. It's more of a humanistic approach. And this really ties in, this is really beautiful. The ethos that you're trying to elucidate in the work that you do, and essentially the work that I do, is the change from within, whether it's an interpersonal or personal process, or whether it's a process in a corporation. And I jokingly said to you, I want to infiltrate the corporate sector and help them commit to their own humanity, connect to their own humanity, commit to that humanity, commit to that truth, and possibly shift ever so slightly so that they can recognize the fundamental humanity of every human being that is dedicated to the work that they're doing, and possibly dedicated to, and that may possibly shift the ethos or the dedication of the company and the work that they're trying to do on a larger scale. And when we are in denial of our humanity, guess what? We break.
And I think what's also important, interesting to talk about, potentially, I believe, and that's again my very personal experience or belief, we can deny certain things for months, we can deny certain things, probably even for a lifetime, but this denial will eventually land on the plate of our children or our partners or our environments. And this is where it spins back to this intergenerational, intercultural trauma, right? So if we stick to stay this strong person because we have achieved this and that, or because we don't want to change something, it will eventually go somewhere else. It's not going to be eradicated. It's going to go somewhere else. And this is, yeah, as you said, like one of the reasons why you do what you do, why I do what I do, and why we do what we do, is to educate people, that you don't always have to be strong. You don't always have to stay strong. And even if you have been strong for the last 5 or 50 years, there's always a time to acknowledge something. And as you said, you can continue potentially with what you have been doing for the past 20 years, 10 years, 50 years, because this is your area of expertise. But doing so from a different heart or with a different intention will change your, again, individual reality and perception of such. And I believe this is this really, really important acknowledgement that we can make, is acknowledge and accept. And this is the first step. And from there, healing can and potentially will happen if you just allow it.
Yeah. And one point that you made beautifully, and to tie it all up, is the recognition, the fundamental recognition of future generations, the fundamental recognition of the humanity of our children and their needs. And that's important. And I know that parents love their children. That's why they bring them into this world. But inadvertently or unconsciously, they end up harming them. Gabor said, trauma is not only what happens to you, it's also the absence of what should have happened for you that didn't. So if you have a workaholic father who compensates for the disordered family life, the dysfunctional family life, by working even more, so he runs away from the family, makes money, is never home, buys kids everything that they want, but isn't present, can subconsciously inform the kids that they're not wanted, can make the children feel abandoned. He may bring in his own rage towards his wife or partner, or she may bring rage towards her partner, which throws the family off balance. The children respond differently. The children respond with rage. And that's not even including the stimuli of social media and the pressures of trying to belong to a certain group, to be accepted, and all of these completely and utterly fucked up things that children have to deal with these days. So they're constantly under this pressure to be other than self, and then the parents make them feel like they can't be themselves or feel accepted by them because they're not even there. They're dysregulated, and then creates a more dysregulated person. And these dysregulated people grow up to do more dysregulated, distorted things, and so forth and so on. And that's why we have intergenerational trauma.
So if you like that, make sure to check out the full-length episode here and leave a subscribe. Thank you.